up, y'all? We back. I know we've been a little minute, been on a little hiatus for about a week. Hope y'all missed us. But anywho, tonight we talking about how to stay together. You know, a lot of relationships, marriages are falling apart day by day. You know, statistics are probably higher than it's ever been. And, you know, we can chalk that up to a lot of different reasons. But, you know, we strongly feel like you really don't have to break up, separate, divorce, what have you. I know it's a bold claim, but it's genuinely how we feel about it. Now, there are some situations, of course, there's always exceptions to the rules where you may have to end a relationship, you know, such as domestic violence, you know, constant infidelity, adultery, those type of things. But really, there are a lot of other reasons why people break up, and they don't have to.
No, I agree. I agree completely.
All right, so with that being said, I'm going to take a bold step and say the number one reason for divorce and breakups are not because of sex, it's not because of money, it's not because of communication, it's because people are selfish. I feel like that's the number one reason why people break up. Because think about it, if sex is an issue, it's probably because one of those people are being selfish with sex. You know, somebody's probably withholding, somebody's probably not honoring how the other person feel about it. You know, they just kind of one way with it. So that's why it looks like sex is the issue, but the bottom line, the underlying thing is that they're selfish.
I agree. I mean, when you said that, I was thinking like, yeah, that's a bold statement. But if we get to the root of the issues, you'll probably find selfishness at the root of all and any issue. Because if you think about money, it's someone being selfish as far as how they think about it and how it should go. So they spend more or don't spend enough or whatever the case, but they're thinking just about themselves.
Then they try to tell the other person how they feel like they should spend.
Right.
Then they don't do it the way that they feel like it should be done, then it's a problem, you know. So I feel like if we could just conquer that root issue of selfishness, then I feel like a lot of people will stay together, because marriage is about sacrifice, it's about compromise. I mean, and this is any relationship, you know what I'm saying, whether you're married or just in a relationship.
Or business.
Right, business,
whatever.
Friendship, whatever. There has to be some level of compromise. It cannot be all your way, all their way. You know, you have to meet somewhere in the middle. You have to understand that that person has feelings as well. That person has a perspective as well. You know, it's not just one way of thinking.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And not only that, it cannot be most, like, I feel like it should be a good balance. Because, you know, some people be like, well, I don't always get my way, but if you're getting it 85% of the time, it's still almost like you always
Right.
getting it.
Right.
You know?
And a lot of people say, you know, marriage or relationships is 50-50. And that's so far from the truth. I think that's one of the biggest myths in relationships.
Yeah.
You got to give your all. Your all is
Right.
100%. Both people got to give 100% to the relationship, because let's be clear, it's going to be days where you don't feel like giving your all. So if both of y'all feel like that on the same day.
That could be a time that y'all feel like y'all want to break up
Right.
or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, it be small stuff that turn into big things, you know what I'm saying? Because people get so caught up on how they feel, you know. And I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I had trouble with that, because, you know, with women especially, if we feel something a certain way and we feel it's strong enough, then it's factual, it's truth,
Right.
you know, and things should go a certain way because of those feelings. But, you know, I feel like if you really put the other person's feelings before your own in some instances, that could really help a relationship to flourish.
If both people were doing that, I don't see how a relationship can break up.
Right.
I mean, you know, I think we all are selfish, you know, in our own right. But if you really wanted to work as far as any type of relationship, think about what that other person wants and feels.
Because, perfect example, there are a lot of times where, you know, I may get home from work, I might be tired, or, you know, I might just want to chill, watch a TV show, but, you know, my family got to eat. So I cannot just come in here and kick back and chill for 2 hours. You know, I have to put the needs of my husband, the needs of the family before my own in that moment. And I say have to, I mean, I don't have to, you know,
Right.
I don't have to do it, but in doing so, I create a peaceful environment in my home, and, you know, I create feelings of love, feelings of trust, feelings of comfort. You know, all those positive emotions come when your spouse or significant other see that you ride or die for them. Like, oh wow, like I know she had a long day, but she still put, you know, my need before her own, you know. So I feel like that's a critical thing that's missing in a lot of relationships. You know, we're in such a self-satisfying or self-gratification society. You know, it's all about self and self-indulgence, you know, that we tend to forget. When you're in a relationship, it's two people, you know, it's not just about you.
Right.
So I know this message is probably far, of course, from what some of you expected to hear, but I mean, we found it to be the truth, you know, in our relationship, you know, and we didn't just come to this point overnight. We had several experiences. We bumped our heads a lot of times, you know, we went around the same mountain a lot of times, but it finally got to a place where we understood, like, we have to speak each other's love language.
Right.
And plug in right there. That's a great book. If you haven't read it, you should read it, by Gary Chapman, The 5 Love Languages. And that's something that we started our relationship with, you know, well, because he gonna say I didn't read the book. He read the full book.
Yeah.
And I saw the book on Joyce Meyer, you know.
But didn't read the whole thing.
But the author was on the, you know, he was on the show and he told what the book was about. I grasped the concept enough that it's working, you know what I'm saying? So basically, not to go too in depth because I really want you to read the book, but you know, it's saying that there's 5 basic love languages, which is gifts, quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service, and physical touch. And basically it's saying that each of us have a different love language, and you know, they have different quizzes and stuff, so you can figure out what your love language is, because you know, you might not know out the gate. So for instance, mine is words of affirmation most of the time, you know, and it changes. And his most of the time is physical touch.
Right.
So a lot of times people get it twisted, you know, you give your spouse what you want instead of what they want.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I'm figuring like, oh baby, you look good. God, you fine. Look at you, you know what I'm saying? Like that don't really do much for him. Like you're like, yeah, I know I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? But he don't need that. You feel me? And then with me, you know, he might want to get all touchy-feely and stuff. And I mean, I'm feeling down on myself. You know, my hair all poofed out. I just want to be like, boo, you look good. Don't worry about that hair being poofed out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like you tend to give the other person what you would want and not what they want.
Right.
And I feel like that causes a lot of relationships to fail as well, you know. So it was another point I wanted to make that, what was it?
Well,
Look, this time I drew a blank, so
I think we should delve
I need
into.
wine. That's why I ain't drink my wine.
I think we should delve into the selfish thinking. Like, you know, basically, if you're dealing with somebody and your main thought is like, okay, they can get what they want as long as it's within what I want, you're already starting off on the wrong foot. You know, we know plenty of people that we've been around, worked around, and things of that nature that you listen to their story and you're like, well, it's no wonder that, you know, you're not having success, because basically you're thinking about just what you want, you know, like, all right, how can I put this?
Just put it out there, babe.
Well, you know, like, no, I gotta give that some thought. I gotta give it some thought, like what it is I want to delve into with that. But I just want people to think more about how the other person feels. You know, you if you want the relationship to be a good relationship, whatever the relationship is, because the whole time you thinking like me, that person thinking them too. And if you're with somebody who's open to giving and compromising, but you're not being that way, you'll find that relationship always falters. You know, so. And
another thing I want to say, please stop comparing.
Oh, yeah.
I had this issue so bad. Like, we go on social media, even people around us, and you look at their lives, and you know, you thinking that they got it so much better, or like, well, in their relationship they do this and he do this for her and she do that, and you know, every relationship is different.
Yeah.
Everybody has a totally different way of handling things. So what worked for their household may not work for your household. You know, my husband and I, we're very unorthodox, very
Right.
non-traditional, and I wasn't always that way, but you know, we've kind of found a middle ground that works for both of us. But a lot of times people look at us like, I don't like what they do, or I don't like, you know, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with that. And that's cool. You can have your opinion, but understand it works for us. So what works for us may not work for you. But what you have to understand is the dynamic of your own relationship, and make your relationship your best relationship, not somebody else's relationship.
I agree.
So, because it's easy, you know, on the outside looking in, but you know, it's plenty of times that I done looked at somebody, I done admired somebody, I done even been jealous and envious of somebody, just to find out, like, oh, he's been cheating on her, or, you know, he may have hit her, or, you know, she might be stealing money from him, you know what I'm saying? Just all this craziness going on. It's like, whoa, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what I'm saying, like, anybody can put on a front, but you know, you're not in their relationship 24/7, so you really don't know what goes on behind closed doors, you know what I'm saying? So please stop comparing your relationship and your spouse to somebody else. And as far as like what your spouse needs, like, well, oh, you know, Jennifer's husband, he only needs, you know, me to cook on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Right.
I mean, only needs her to cook on Mondays and Tuesdays. Why I got to cook every day, you know? Because your husband is different. He might want you to cook 5 days a week, you know? So it's very, very unfortunate that people do that. And we all do it. Like I said, I'm guilty myself. You know, I don't do it quite as much anymore because I understand that concept. But it is an easy thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And then the other thing, this is what I was trying to say earlier. Another approach that we have in our relationship is that we're very solution focused. Like, we don't just hop on the problems in our relationship. We identify the problem, you know, we're not oblivious like that, hey, we got an issue right now, there's something going on, you know. So once we identify what the problem is, then we work on the solution. Like, all right, look, we know that this is an issue, now how do we resolve it? And then we brainstorm and come up with ways, you know, of how we can handle it, how we can do it better. I mean, you don't always agree the first time around. You know, He may come with an idea. I may come with an idea like, no, I don't like that. That's not going to work for me. But basically, it's continuing to communicate, compromise, and make sacrifices for that person until you can find common ground. So that's something that's worked very, very well in our relationship.
Yes, it has. It keeps us level, you know. It's like, whenever we come, because me personally, I can be a very stubborn person, and it's good because she's not, you know, she kind of introduced the solution-focused thing. I mean, I always wanted to, but I guess I was too stubborn to actually put the effort to, you know, and I agree with it. It really works when you just get out of your feelings and think about, all right, how can we fix this? How can we make it to where we both are getting something out of the solution, you know, rather than just being mad or one person getting the satisfaction, you know.
And then also, it's certain things in your relationship you have to come up with a plan for. And, you know, I'll just give one example. Like, we both have agreed that if we get mad at each other, we have an argument or whatever, we don't leave the house.
Right.
Like, you can go to another room, you can step away, but we never leave the house when we're upset with each other, because that's just like a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. You know, based on my past experiences, if I leave the house, I ain't going to 7-Eleven. You know what I'm saying? Let's be clear. If I leave the house, I probably got something else working, you know, because in that moment, I'm trying to feel better. So it's not really a good idea to put a lot of separation between you when you're angry with each other. So I feel like you have to set things up proactively instead of waiting till something happen and reacting to it. You know, you have to be like, all right, look, if these scenarios happen, this is our game plan. This is how we're going to handle it. So it's just like you would sit down and write like a business plan, you would need to sit down and write like a marriage plan or relationship plan. Like, okay, so when we encounter these issues, how are we going to deal with them?
Right.
So, and again, like, these are just tips that we're given that have been successful in our marriage. You know, we've been married, it'll be almost 4 years, been together almost 6 years, and things are going really well for us. So we just want other people to have successful relationships. we want to see marriages succeed. You know, I guess that's the same as being successful. Yeah. But at any rate, that's our goal. You know, we really want to help couples have successful relationships. We want to help people stay together because a lot of relationships don't have to break up.
Right. Yeah, it just be stubbornness, timing. Timing is a big thing, you know. Like, one thing we've come to do is, like, if it's a hot topic, you know, we'll table it. We'll be like, you know what? Let's talk about this later or something like that, you know, so it don't have to get blown up out of proportion in that moment, you know. And I mean, yes, it takes a little patience to do that because you want to say something right then or you want to, but, you know, you got to think of time, and it's not always the best time to be addressing certain things. Like if she come home and, you know, she feeling this kind of way, last thing I'm going to do is bring up something that I know is going to be a hot button for her.
Exactly.
You know?
Baby, that is such a good point, because that was something I had to learn, because when him and I were dating initially, we had certain topics that we knew if we talked about it, it won't go be a good conversation. You know, it was going to go left or whatever. But now, like he's saying, getting to know one another, we know when to address things with each other. And we know when to address sensitive things with one another.
Right.
So it's like if we, you know, we just paid this big bill, this big unexpected bill, that ain't the time I need to come to him like, baby, I need to go buy some clothes. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you really have to pick and choose when you want to address certain issues. And you know your spouse, you know your significant other, you've been with them for a while. So you know, like if you come in the house and they got the screw face, don't come in there with no BS. And you know what I'm saying? Like wait until they in a better space, because it's like basically you setting yourself up for an argument. You setting yourself up, you know, for things to go bad. So why do that? Why not wait until, like, you know, after y'all done had dinner, maybe y'all watch a movie together and, you know, you can tell that that person's in a better space, then maybe bring it up.
Another thing I wanted to say, I think that you should make a decision that you want to be with the person. You know, the way the mind works, you know, whatever we want, whatever we focus on, we pretty much create our world around that. So if you're in a relationship where you're like, okay, I want to be, if you already might be setting yourself up. Like it should be set like, I want to be with this person. And then your mind will start creating solutions and ways to cope with the person. You'll learn them better, easier, you know. So that's just another little tip that I know has worked for me.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that as well, because once we actually made that decision, like, look, we together no matter what, we gonna work through our issues. You know, we're committed to each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to be together. We want to work things, you know, see things through. So breaking up and divorce is not an option for us. You know what I'm saying? So just to have that level of commitment, it just gives you a feeling of comfort knowing like your partner's there through thick and thin. You know you can count on this person.
Right.
Low battery. But at any rate, hopefully these tips and words of wisdom have been helpful for you all. Like I said, they've definitely been helpful for us. And, you know, we've canceled some other people. Canceled. How you say it? Canceled. But anyhow, we've mentored, you know, other people, and it seemed to have worked for them. So hopefully these tips and pieces of advice will work for you as well. All right. We holla.